All right, thank you everyone for coming at 10 a.m. And while I was sitting there, I could see something common between all these pictures, which is everybody's a speaker, everybody has a photo with a mic here. But yeah, thank you for coming for this interesting panel. Let's get started with a quick round of introduction. So I'm Abhishek. I run a media company called as Voice of Crypto. I know I can see Acknowledger, which is my previous company. So they could not find somebody who can moderate a panel at 10 a.m. So they called me up just 2 days back. So that's the reason why my company's name is different. But I run a company called Voice of Crypto, which is a media company. We talk about Web3, NFTs, metaverse, everything which comes under media and technology. Then we have Jacob.
So yeah, my name is Jacob Haap. I am a software architect and I run an early stage company out of Berlin called Anomaly Science. What we do is we are developing a tokenized solution for software licensing along with different Web3 developer tools. I guess an easy way to put it in short, what we're doing is it's like making a token gating system for Git repositories.
Hey everyone, I'm Fraser Bell. Been working in consumer crypto for about 3.5 years. Got started by selling TikToks as NFTs in 2021, which seemed like an amazing idea. Turned out not to be such a good idea, but since then, been working at MintStars, where I'm CMO. We are a sex-positive subscription and content and tipping platform for online creators. Think OnlyFans, Patreon. We offer super low fees, protection from chargebacks, super low censorship. And we do that by using USDC stablecoin payments on the platform and allowing creators to turn their content into collectibles. Processing about 1.5–2 million in payments to creators per year.
Hello everyone, my name is Danilo. I'm a co-founder and CEO at The Miracle. And what we do is we connect perks, rewards, basically everything you can do, access or claim with a token with the NFTs or coins on top. So that means when you are on a marketplace or wallet or any app that supports your token, you will see what you can claim next in terms of airdrops, whitelists, merchandise, or even event tickets. We cover around like 50 categories which are accessible through NFTs and tokens. And we support with our protocol more than 530 collections across all the bigger chains.
So let's get started with how many of you know what is an NFT? So let's understand. Okay. And how many of you own NFTs? Wow, that's good. All right. So I still remember 2 years back at the same place, there was a panel which talked about NFTs will be the future of consumer apps. NFT will be the future, and just 2 years we are here. So let's get started. What happened in last 2 years? Why we are talking about why no one cares about NFT project? What has happened in last 2 years? Is it just because of the bear market or something else has also changed?
Well, I think this is a lot to do with the fact that no one is doing anything unique or creative over the last 2 years. If you go back 2–3 years, look at when we had the last big bull market, is like NFTs, they were new, they were interesting. They didn't necessarily have to do anything unique or have any specific utility attached to it because people liked it for the fact that it was a new and interesting technology. But people trying to repeat that exact same pattern over the last few years, expecting the same results, just isn't working anymore because they're not offering anything unique. I mean, I think the core of the problem is there's no unique utility, nothing new being done. You look at any collection that's out there, they have the same art style, same collection size, sometimes even using the exact same smart contract code, but there's just nothing new going on. I think that's why people have kind of lost the hype around it.
Yeah, I think there's maybe a distinction that we'll come back to on this panel, which is the distinction between an NFT collection and the PFP collections, the 10,000 pictures, 5,000 pictures, and that format, and why there's not many panels about that at this conference, versus what NFTs have been successful and what NFTs are becoming. And I guess there's like 2 or 3 examples that I think of when I think about NFTs in 2024 that are doing well, are doing interesting things. The 3 that come to mind are 1, Disney Pinnacle is a huge collectibles project with some of the world's most famous film and TV IP is on-chain. It is NFTs that are being collected, traded, and resold. Number 2 is fine art. there are platforms out there which have got huge amounts of digital art being sold as NFTs every day, every week. One is called Verse, which is actually a London-based company. And then the third is gaming. And it's not necessarily so obvious in London or in this part of the world, but there are millions of people every week who play on-chain games where a lot of the assets in those games are NFTs. And so I guess I would distinguish between people do care about NFTs, they just don't necessarily care in the way that maybe we were introduced to them 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what have been said so far. I also think when we look back at 2021, NFTs were like the product, and I think we are now moving into a stage of the cycle. I mean, it's still early, but where NFTs are being used as the underlying tech, whether it is for art, for on-chain subscriptions, tokenize assets, or even use it for fashion. I mean, there are so many use cases how the NFT technology can be used on top and connected with digital, but also physical goods. And yeah, I think that's why, or let's say when someone doesn't care about your NFT project today, then it's really, as Jacob said, because you just copy paste what has been done in 2021, and that's not working anymore today.
So Fraser, this question is for you. You spoke about 3 good use cases of what NFTs have been doing. And I would like to hear from all of you, what are some of the worst NFT use cases which you guys would have seen, and which obviously didn't work, and people don't like these kind of stupid use cases which all of us have seen. So one from all of you.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk about what I was doing in 2021, where TikTok growing massively, getting its first sort of billion users at the time, celebrities starting to get into the NFT world, and we built a platform that with one click would let you turn a TikTok into an NFT and attach some utility to that. And the utility could be you get to meet the person that made the TikTok, or you get to get some merch from the person that created that viral TikTok. We wanted to create like a new asset class of like tradable viral content. That was kind of the theory. The reason why, looking back, and to kind of answer the question, it's silly, is because we were effectively offering a utility which was to get some kind of access to the creator, but at a massively inflated price because it was an NFT. And I think we all kind of agree on the panel that you can't just say, here's the collectible, here's the utility, like hand over the money. That has been kind of, I think played out.
I think as far as like a worst or silliest use case goes, while I can't pinpoint an exact one, a few things that come to mind are when you have like these copycat collections. If you go and look at any marketplace and you see all these things like insert whatever word here, a yacht club or whatever, just all of these that are just trying to modify existing collections without doing any other work around it, I think those are quite absurd. I guess generally collections that exist in isolation, there was nothing else around it, maybe more so when just a company that had nothing to do with Web3 or nothing even remotely related to it comes along and tries to release a collection and expects some success from it. Just these kind of obscure use cases that exist in isolation.
Yeah, I think Pepsi was one of the bigger companies which failed. I mean, it was like in 2021, early 2022, where all these big brands stepped in and just released like digital collectibles / NFTs. And for most of them, it didn't work because it didn't provide any additional value to the consumer and to the user. And I think in general, I mean, how you can fail is just like overpromise and underdeliver, obviously. And if you can't build also a community around it and an identity, then it's going to be really hard.
So you mentioned about NFT and community, right? So how do you convince people without talking about community, without talking about utility? What could be the original use cases which have been happening now? Because as we were talking outside, you're talking about a lot of collectibles as well. So what are some of the use cases which you can say without using these specific jargons like utility, community?
So without using those specific words, I guess it's a bit difficult to get into because that's basically everything that people have done around NFTs. They either exist as a community or marketing tool, something that people could get behind socially, or they unlock a specific utility. So I guess honestly, if you're looking at it without those words, like sure you can describe them without using those words, but I don't think they should exist outside of that. The way I see that NFTs should be used is that something with the technology is being extracted for a specific purpose, such as cases like licensing, credentials, authentication, identity solutions. Those are all things that can be made possible by having a tokenized asset. So I guess in a sense, you can use the word utility for that, but if you remove the idea of utility or community, it's really taking it away from what do these tokens actually do outside of that.
Yeah, I think a lot about like the top brands. I wouldn't call them NFT projects anymore, like Pudgy Penguins, Doodles, or Azuki. They have been building really strong IPs, and at this point, like the NFT collection is like at the end of the funnel, and what they're building on top is cool stuff in the physical world, like with toys which are being sold in the stores, and those toys, for example, in terms of Pudgy Penguins, are being licensed through the holders. So I think it's really important to look at these top brands, what they are doing, how they are using the IP, and how they are empowering also the community. They have really strong community members as the backbone of their brand who are wearing their merch. I think PFPs are still cool. It's a cool use case for socials, but I think in general it is leveraging the IP and giving back to the community that they can create things on top, and that has worked really well for those top brands. I was just recently checking the map of Azuki, and there are like almost 100 communities which have been built on top of the brand through the community members, and I think that's pretty insane if you look at the time horizon when it started, like just 3 years ago, and where those brands are going.
I think another sort of interesting observation there is you mentioned that NFTs have become just part of a funnel and part of kind of an experience with a brand or with a community. And I guess one thing that I think about quite a lot is that the attention of consumers is no longer just on NFTs and projects that have NFTs or communities that have NFTs. I'd argue that a lot of communities have actually gone down the route of launching their own meme coins or whatever to kind of capture the value of their communities. And they found that that's a better, maybe more liquid, maybe more interesting way for people to participate in the communities rather than the sort of 10,000, picture type format. So the NFT is an option, but if you've got a community, it's not like the only way that you're going to engage people, reward people, or give people access to software or products or whatever.
If I may really quickly, just one thing that you both kind of touched on, I really like what you said about how you don't think of some of these collections as NFT collections anymore. It's kind of the fact that you have a change in what used to be going on, where if you look 2 or 3 years ago, NFT collections was NFT first, everything else later. I think a major shift that we've seen is it's now become you have a specific goal that you were trying to achieve that is defined first. And then later in time, if it is appropriate, that's when you have a tokenized solution, such as an NFT collection coming in that will then fulfill a specific role. I think that's a very good thing that's happened for the space. I think it's getting rid of a lot of these kind of bullshit use cases that we've seen in the past. But yeah, I just wanted to comment on that. I really like that you touched on that.
Yeah, I think it's very cool to see, as I mentioned before, look at Doodles. Doodles, they just launched like a new platform called Doodles Studio. And what they do is now on base, where also like the barriers of entry are much lower because you almost don't pay any gas fees. You can mint almost at no price. So it gives people the opportunity to join the brand, the ecosystem, to collect stuff, whether it is access to like I think there was like a video with Pharrell, like a music video, and when you collected the item through the store, you had early access to it, and then you could rip some packs. In collaboration with Adidas, and if you were lucky, you got access to one of, I think, like 100 pieces, very unique sneakers. So I think the brands are really exploring new ways of onboarding more people, And it doesn't have to be necessarily through meme coins. I know it's the meta in this cycle in terms of liquidity, people rooting just for one coin. And in my opinion, meme coins are tokenized culture. And it's not like NFTs or meme coin. I think it's more like NFTs and meme coins, and they're just used in different ways. But yeah, just as I said before, look at the top brands, Doodles, Azuki, Pudgy Penguins, also Chimpers. Love what Chimpers are building in the space when it comes to gaming and IP. They're kind of leading the way with building cool stuff on top of the NFT technology and the community.
So Danilo, you mentioned about meme coins, and we have seen so many meme coins in this bull cycle. Do you think a lot of artists who were creating art, who were creating interesting art during NFT bull phase have moved to meme coins because they see it doesn't satisfy them creatively, but it makes money for them. So do you think has that trend also coming in from there?
I mean, I can't speak for artists. It's not my area where I am I would say like an expert or know much about it. But I would like in my understanding where memes are coming, it's also from artists in the first place, like the Pepe, and I don't think like artists are chasing just new ways of making money. They actually find through NFTs with the technology to make their art accessible, and also I would say reaching a broader audience online, protected with NFT technology, make it tradable. So I think you can't replace an NFT with a meme coin when it comes to art. And I don't know any artist who just switched. I don't have anyone in mind. I don't know if you have one in mind, but yeah.
I think maybe one of the advantages a coin or meme coin or a scene coin can have is that it can be a broader expression than an NFT or a piece of art. And what I mean by that is you can make a coin that expresses a feeling that is across, a larger or wider area of culture that can evolve over time. Whereas most NFT projects feel like a sort of static expression of a piece of art or a piece of culture. Unless, to go back to the example Danilo gave, unless you've got a real team that's evolving that, like at Doodles or somewhere else, where the NFT project is just a part of it and the brand is evolving kind of more consistently.
Okay. So my next question to all of you is, what is we spoke about multiple utilities and creating real utilities. What is the real importance of a utility? Why people will not go just after your JPEGs, but after the real utility, which I think Danilo already touched upon. What could be the other use cases, utilities, which you can think of?
Yeah, I think I don't think just in terms of Web3. I think in terms of general consumer use cases. When you look at loyalty programs and reward programs, there are oops. I'm sorry. So there are 411 million consumers in the US and in Europe who are part of at least one loyalty or one reward program of a brand. And when you look at the technology, it's very limited. You can either use it or don't. But I think when discounts, giveaways, access passes to certain stuff, exclusive products, if that moves on chain, it just creates more opportunities and more ownership also for the consumers. They can either use it, they can share it, they can sell it. And I think that's the beauty of NFT technology, to use it in terms of utility or benefits. And also when you look at a brand or from a company perspective, it gives you more opportunities to also collaborate with other brands. Because right now, when you look at Web2 loyalty programs, they work kind of in silos. You have one program, one database. It's very hard to collaborate with other brands, maybe even across industries, because you don't have access to their client list, to their emails and stuff like that, also because of regulation. And when it comes to on-chain loyalty and on-chain rewards, I can basically go and I can create a reward for doodle holders or for Pudgy holders. So it's permissionless, and I believe that everything what we have access to as consumers right now in terms of loyalty and rewards, within the next 10 years, it will be on-chain, but consumers won't actually realize it. It won't be labeled as an NFT. It will be your membership card from your favorite brand, or it will be a discount, or it will be a ticket, but it will be on-chain.
Yeah, I think can talk about what we're doing from Mintstar's perspective. For us, the NFT use case is to access content that you wouldn't access unless you owned the collectible. So the utility is simply having access to something, but the record of that is on chain, is tradable, royalties can be paid back to the creators of that content. We've got rid of the word NFT altogether from our platform, our social media, everything like that, because we're targeting a non-crypto audience, and in 2024 using the word NFT doesn't make sense for that audience.
I think when touching on the idea of utility and like real use cases, I think it's important to consider where the technology could be best applied to solve real problems that exist. And I feel to use like a good example of this ongoing right now is I'm pretty sure many of you are aware of ENS domains, the .eth. This is a decentralized name system. Most domain names, those exist in a centralized system, and this has a lot of problems associated with it. As some people may have heard in the news recently, the British Indian Ocean Territory is being transferred to a different state. That is associated with the top-level domain of .io, and as this territory is going to cease to exist, that domain might disappear in the future, which is a really big problem for all the millions of applications that might use that top-level domain. If that existed on a decentralized registrar, kind of like .eth, we would not be encountering that problem right now. I feel to touch on another type of problem that could be solved just by using tokenized use cases like this is touching on one of identity documents. This is something I've spoken on similar panels in the past. And it's just so much of our modern lives, a lot of people who travel for events like this, like myself and many of you here probably, you have to have your identity documents to get everywhere, like a passport. And if you lose that, it's a massive problem because you have to be able to prove who you are to get it back. You don't necessarily have proof of your identity anymore. If many of you are going to do anything like want to trade crypto, you probably had to go through the whole KYC process to scan your documents, do the 3D selfies. It's just an awkward and annoying process. Having something like a tokenized ID that removes so many of those problems, because to verify your identity on an online service is no longer having to visually inspect documents and verify that it all matches, is then verifying the authenticity of a digital token, which is a lot more simpler. If you were to lose your identity document, it's not as complicated of a process to replace it if you have a verifiable digital twin of it. So I think looking into times when we can solve problems that exist in the real world using these types of technologies available to us are the best use cases we could make of it.
Fraser, you mentioned about that now you've started targeting non-crypto user base who are non-coiners, normies. So how has the adoption been for non-coiners? Do they understand? And you said you have moved away from the word NFT. So how has the response been? How are you able to communicate it? Because these guys don't understand what we all talk about.
Yeah, so the number one learning from working on Mintstars for the last 2 years is you've either got to target your crypto audience, build a product, build a set of marketing messaging that is tailored totally to that audience, or if the people you solve the best problems for aren't crypto users, the whole experience has to be tailored to the fact that they probably don't have a wallet, they don't care what an NFT is, they just are trying to solve that specific pain point, and you've got to build a complete solution to solve that pain point. And I think for a little while, probably the first sort of 6 months to a year, we kind of tried to straddle that and say to crypto people, hey, we're built on crypto rails, you should come and spend crypto on our platform, while also then sort of turning around and saying to content creators, hey, you've got this problem with Web2 platforms, come and join us. And that split messaging really, really didn't work. What we found is that by leaning into or moving away from the crypto messaging, crypto people actually got it. And when we talked about collectibles, crypto people went, oh, actually, that's an NFT. I know what you guys are doing, without us having to kind of burn bridges with people that weren't interested in NFTs and crypto. So yeah, as I said at the start, the real takeaway is pick one of those two audiences and then just totally optimize for that.
Jacob, Daniel, would like to add something about how to target non-crypto people with your collectibles now?
I think the way that you target non-crypto people is you have to make the process easier for them. I mean, right now, if you look at anything going on in Web3, if you want to do anything with it, one of the first challenges is being able to know how to create a wallet and protect a seed phrase. For many of us, that's a simple thing because we're kind of the Web3 natives and we're used to it. But if you're trying to explain this to someone who's maybe an outsider, maybe someone who even struggles to know how to use the internet to begin with, it's a bigger problem. Like, think about how many people out in the world struggle to understand how to properly use a web browser or make it to websites. We all probably know someone in our lives who struggles with the internet as it stands right now. And now we're trying to introduce all these new concepts to them where it's very abstract and difficult to understand. So I think the big problem is figuring out how we can make that process easier for them, whether that be through account abstraction or stuff like you have custodial account systems so you could log in with an email, anything that just reduces friction on onboarding for people to have a easier experience. I guess making it appear as Web 2 on the front end, but being powered by a Web 3 back end.
Yeah, I would just add that there's a trend, broader trend in tech, in VC funding, etc., towards verticalized solutions. And so we looked at verticalized SaaS, so software for healthcare, software for schools. And we're seeing that in AI as well, where it's all AI use cases that are specific to specific people. And I think in the kind of crypto space, some of the non-crypto targeted solutions like ours, you've got to build a complete solution for that one individual group that you're focused on. So that means on-ramping people, it means helping people do the transactions, off-ramping them at the end, kind of all in one without any of those steps or any of those sort of gaps being left.
Yeah, I agree with all of what have been said about this topic. I think removing friction is super important. And the biggest companies in Web3, they're leading the way. For example, Coinbase with Base. You can create a smart wallet without any knowledge of crypto within like a minute, I would say. And step 2 would be really just telling consumers what they can do and not talk about the tech spec and stuff like that. A good example, when we look back 20 years ago, there was this hype about MP3 and songs were called MP3. There were all these companies who were producing and launching MP3 players on the market. And then Apple came around the corner and they said with the iPod, 1,000 songs in your pocket. And the people, they just got it and they won back then. And there were other companies, and they said like, hey, you have this MP3 player, it has like this amount of storage and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, consumers don't give a shit about that. They just want to know how they can use it, what problem is it solving in their daily life, and what value they can get out of it.
So my last question to all of you is, if all of you could go back in time, in a time machine, 5 years back, what changes would you make, or what would be your learnings, without calling NFT the collectibles, which we've already discussed? What would be your own learnings which you will tell yourself?
So if I were to go back and I guess influence my own learning on the topic, is that what you mean? That's an interesting question. I've never been asked that before. I mean, I guess if I look back at it, the way that I first learned the topic was when I was around 14 years old. I learned about CryptoKitties and was interested in trading them that way. So I guess if I could go back with a time machine, it would be to start thinking about the topic differently, because the way I got my introduction was it through the mindset of being a digital collectible, and then eventually shifted to my understanding of it now, where you can have the token being more than just that. So I guess introducing that at the beginning, maybe even just introducing that as a concept for the rest of the world, because we all started with the same standpoint of NFTs exist for that type of case. I think if we started off where NFTs are being used for something that wasn't a digital collectible, we'd be in a very different world right now.
Well, it's kind of interesting because like the first time I had actually touch point with NFTs was as a digital collectible, because I don't know if you remember a platform in late 2020 called Vivi. It was or I think they still exist, for digital collectibles. So when I find out about it, it made immediately sense. So yeah, also heard this question for the first time. But yeah, I would also say like, hey, let's don't talk about the NFT as the product, but as the underlying tech, and see what can be built on top to solve problem for consumers and for companies.
Yeah, I think the only sort of learning I would give back to myself is that in crypto and in NFTs as well, things change very, very fast. And if you're trying to build a company and a startup, it's going to take a very long time to build technology, build a team, market that product. And so the learning is, if you're seeing a trend in the space, you need to think if that's something that's going to stick around, and if there are underlying, consumer forces that you're building towards. Because if you're trying to build towards a certain trend, by the time you've built it, marketed it, etc., it's probably going to be gone, and there'll be a new cycle, whether it's a new crypto cycle, whether it's a new kind of NFT meta, whatever it is. And so I think you've got to distinguish between, are you creating something for now that you can launch now, whether it's an NFT project or something else, or are you trying to build something deeper, more holistically solve a problem for a set of consumers that is an underlying issue?
Thank you very much. I mean, we can take a few questions from audiences if there are any questions. You'll not get a chance at 10 a.m. meeting these three NFT guys, so all right. Okay, any lasting thoughts which you guys would like to show? Sir?
Quite a predictable question, but could you say something about perhaps the influence of AI and NFTs, and any thoughts on that? Thank you.
I guess one thing that comes to mind is you have two ways to look at it. There's in the eyes of NFT collections, and the fact that AI is being used to sometimes generate the contracts, the art. It's becoming a very automated process. But then you can also possibly flip it the other way around. How do NFTs influence AI? And I think one way that could work is being able to tag training data. A very big problem right now with generative AI is we're starting to train itself off of existing AI-generated content, or possibly stuff that is copyrighted content. So I think something NFTs could do to help with that is being able to know what the origin of that is.
Yeah, I can comment from MintStars. We're a platform for creators that doesn't allow AI-generated creators or content that is trained off the use of real people, mostly for kind of consent reasons about how those images have been made. So when I think about why we're building a blockchain-based platform, it's about provenance, proving who is a real creator, who is a real fan, what content have they created and when. And I think that can help us to sort of certify who's made certain content, when's that been distributed, bought, sold, etc.
Yeah, I can copy that. It goes hand in hand. Blockchain technology will be used to kind of prove what's the origin, and yeah, just agree with what these two guys just said.
Nice. Thank you very much, guys. Should we give in?